Hello there, my loves, and welcome once more to my channel. It's not my usual video for this week. That will be tomorrow. And I'm coming on here really to foreshadow that release, if you will, because I've been working on a little project over the past 2 weeks. I've written a short story, but I've written it specifically for audio, and it's a kind of an audio play. And so it involves a little bit of acting by yours truly. And one thing I've learned from the process is acting is very, very difficult indeed, but it's much easier when you're not on the camera. So I've been able to disassociate that aspect of it, and hopefully there's a bit of drama imbued with my performance. But of course, you'll be the judge of that. So what's this story all about? So for a number of years now, I've been interested in this relatively recent phenomenon online of back rooms, it's called. A series of short films and even games that are online about liminal spaces primarily. Well, it's pretty much that, really. So office spaces, shopping malls, swimming pools, things like that. Constructed environments that are otherwise utilized for working or leisure, but once empty of humanity, take on a kind of eerie aspect. I absolutely love watching that stuff. So I thought I'd turn my hand to writing a story set within that kind of scenario. So my story is about a middle-aged Englishman, potentially me, who's whisked from 1974 into a corridor that, to all intents and purposes, appears to be a corridor in a hotel, perhaps. But this is a corridor that's endless, goes off into infinity. So it's about his experience of that setting. The whole thing, of course, is told through narration. He's got an audio recorder on his person. It's not his. He doesn't really understand how to operate it. And so he's recording it over a mixtape of music that's from the 1980s and 1990s. So even the music isn't familiar to him. He doesn't like it. He's unsettled by it. For example, he may never have come into contact with synthesized music and things like that. So that was an interesting aspect. The whole thing is kind of chopped up into pieces, and in the gaps between where he's recording, there's fragments of music that I personally like. So I've put some of my favorite stuff in there from that era. But yeah, I really enjoyed writing it because I love writing things that have a constrained parameters, if you will. So taking someone from that era and placing them into a situation that would completely destroy any of us. I mean, it's a horrible situation to be in, but I found it interesting trying to work out how he would try to accommodate this new reality into his worldview of what's possible in the world. Of course, this is an impossible thing, but there's also tidbits of information that relates to his background and potentially how this thing has come about. But yeah, I wanted to keep it relatively loose, a sense of mystery that permeates the whole thing. If you do choose to listen to it, should I say, towards the end, there's a kind of an ending of sorts, and then there's one long song that I've put in. It's almost in its entirety, and I think most people would probably switch off at that point. But if you do persevere, there is a couple of little things towards the end, so it might be worth sticking around for those. Just letting you know. Okay, so that's what that's going to be. That's all I've got. But yeah, I might just carry on talking. How about that? I was going to say this morning, early in the morning, sometimes I've got to go and get fuel for the work car. I absolutely hate getting fuel. It's an absolute chore. I don't like the smell of the fuel, and it gets on your hands, and it's just, you've got to go and talk to someone. So anyway, this morning there's a really nice old chap that's in the local petrol station for. It's a Tesco one, so it's also a mini supermarket, and lovely old chap. I'm assuming he's probably in his 70s, mid 70s. God knows why he's still working. I feel sorry for him. He kind of looks out of place in the modern setting, if you will. But he's a very jovial chap, very well spoken. It's like someone from an old British film, perhaps. I always enjoy talking to him. The only one that I do enjoy talking to, there's a young woman there that I absolutely can't stand. She's got zero patience, and anyway, I won't go into that. But anyway, this chap, he loves the, what did you call it? The alphabet that's used, Tango, Whiskey, Foxtrot and all of that. So because it's fucking steaming up in here, I'm sorry. So when I use a fuel card because my boss pays for the fuel. And so every time I go, I've got to give my car registration, which in the UK obviously is numbers and letters. And so there's always letters involved. And I know that he likes his, whatever you call this, what do you call it? Yes, it's called the phonetic alphabet. I thought it was that, but I thought it can't be called that anyway. Phonetic. He loves his phonetic, so I thought, right, I don't normally do this. I normally get him to repeat what I've said in the phonetic alphabet, but I thought, right, I'm going to give you my phonetics. So I got whiskey. What else was it? Foxtrot was also there, and then I came to the letter B. And my mind went blank. I'm assuming it's beta, but I'm not quite sure. Anyway, I went, Bertram, B for Bertram. And he went, and then I went, beta? And he went, Papa? And anyway, it kind of escalated from that point. I wanted to impress him, and I think I let him down, really. But he took it in good grace, and he wished me a good day, and I did the same to him. And then I went on my merry way, my loves. But there we are. There's a little story for the morning. Trying to think of what else I can talk about. I mean, there's no point me doing this, obviously, but I like to sometimes get things off my chest. So, yeah, I've just done this audio thing. I'm going to have a pause with writing in general for the time being and get back into doing some artwork. My brother is hoping to soon publish a choose your own adventure book, a fantasy based one aimed at kind of young adults. And he wants me to do the cover illustration, a fantasy map, and no less than 15 illustrations. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do all that, but I'll have a fair crack at it. The only problem, of course, is that drawing is now a problem for me. Painting is okay, I can get away with it, but drawing really hurts my wrist. So I'll see how it goes. And if you're listening, Mark, that's what I'll be trying to do. I'll definitely get the cover and I'll get the map done, but we'll see where it goes with the other stuff. Also, got to make sure I don't make it too dark or put any naughtiness in it, because it is for children in a way. Yes, I won't say much more other than that in the coming weeks I'm just going to get back to doing book reviews. I've already read 3 books this year, my loves, and I'm on my 4th. Can you believe that? So there's going to be plenty more of those coming, and I'm going to try as hard as possible to review every single book I read this year, even if it's just a shambolic off the cuff 5-minute job. I'll try and get them all out, and you can get a flavour of the kind of things I read in between the science fiction, for example. But yeah, that's coming down the line. I better stop now before it fully steams up. It's because it's so cold in here. The moisture then condenses on the lens of my camera, and yeah, nothing I can do about it other than put the heating on. I'm not doing that. That costs money. I think most people are the same, especially in Britain, well, all over the world perhaps, but over here the energy prices are so fucking crazy that we only heat one room, and that's the bedroom. Otherwise, we make do with an electric blanket and walk around wearing furs most of the time. That's what we've come to in this country. We may as well be living outside in a tent half the time. But there we are. That's what we're dealing with at the moment. I'm tempted to light a bonfire in here, take it back to medieval times, where fire was, or heating was relatively cheap if you could find the wood. But there we are. We're not fully there. We're not fully in the barbaric times yet, but it'll come. I'll burn my big easel because it's a fucking monstrosity. And I probably will get rid of that eventually. One other thing I was just going to say, just come into my mind now. I've been dallying with the idea, I'll probably never do this. It's kind of pipe dream. Well, it's not even a pipe dream. It's just an idea that I occasionally have, and it comes around now and then, of setting up an art class in my local area for perhaps retired people, just to teach them the basics of proportion and you know, they could draw my penis, for example. I mean, that would be quite a nice study, I suppose you could do. But no, not that obviously. But yeah, just a simple drawing class, perhaps using charcoal. I know there's a small hall nearby, and it used to be used as a kind of boxing place, very, very small place, and it's never used now. I wonder if I could possibly go in there. But of course, then you've got the problem. You'd need to have chairs, and I'd need loads of easels. You'd probably get very cheap, simple easels. So that could be a possibility. And it wouldn't really make money. It would be kind of breaking even, but it would be something to do, wouldn't it, my loves? I mean, that's just an idea that I've got. I'll let you know if it gets any further than what's languishing in my noggin. I've told you about it now, so it's made one leap further than it normally does. I've never told anyone about that, but that would be quite fun. Not the drawing of my penis, obviously. No one would want to do that. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'm sorry, I've been terrible. But anyway, tomorrow, if you're interested, there's going to be this audiobook. Look out for a thumbnail with a tape cassette on it. I might have already shown it, I don't know. Depends how much I can be asked to edit this. Anyway, cheers, my loves, and see you soon.